Hello, hello, hello. I'm Mika. Welcome to Leap Taken. Here at Leap Taken, I talk all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. And welcome. Today, we're going to be talking about the dark half of the year and how to welcome it in. Um, this is in my countdown to Samhain series, where every Wednesday at this time, I will be going live. Instead of doing a sit down edited video, I'm going to be coming on here and just talking live to everyone and just having the video that way. One, I'm going to tell you my actual process about this. So I have a theory, and I have well, it's been sort of a proven theory for me about the Burr month, specifically about September and then October. So the fall. I have found I am at my peak productive. I'm at my peakness, whatever that is at this time of year. And I truly believe that it has everything to do with um, the socialization of public schooling and just schooling in general, because I am so accustomed to being a child myself and how the back to school becomes a thing. And then having children as well, also that becomes a thing. And then when and then I went back to school at one point. I went to college, but then my kids were in college. Like I can't get away from back to school, which means it's time to start something new. New clothes. Are we doing new fall looks? Like I don't know. It's always a time for me to start something new. So I'm already primed for that energy. Most of us are, whether you might not believe it is, but you really are. We've all been indoctrinated, but it's a good thing. Capitalize on that energy. This is what it means to be a modern witch as well. You Yeah, you can like candles and incense and crystals and all that's really cool, and I love all that too. But get into the energy of the times, get into the energy of what's happening around you, tap into that energy, um, and use it in your workings, use it for your magic, use it to not only to get something out of, but also to connect. There's something you can use that energy and kind of ride the wave of everyone around you. And maybe there's some big goals that you've been trying to get done. Maybe there's something you've been trying to manifest, and you've just been waiting for, I don't know, the motivation, the gumption, the feeling to finally to get it done. And now this is the time. This is the hour. You can get it done. You can tap into that energy. Now, if you don't feel like it because of a host of different reasons, you're just not feeling it right now, that's fine. And maybe this is just your season for shadow work, but we're going to get into that. So the reason I started doing the live for the month of the October is because I'm already primed and in the mindset to start something new and to start something different. So I was thinking, what can I do different? I can create videos. I can give a new intro, which if hopefully if you watch my video for my new grimoire that I'm doing for the dark half of the year, it has a different intro just for this month. That particular intro, and I'm quite proud of it. It's spooky and scary. It freaked my daughter out when she first saw it. That means it's good. So more than just that, what could I do? And I was like, I can put myself out there even more. So I talked about this over the summer, how I kind of enjoy doing lives. One, there's less editing for me, and also it's a chance to kind of interact. So assuming, I get an audience, I'm not used to being on live around this time of day, um, or on this day, but it can be more interactive. And if you have questions, you can ask me and we can talk about it. So, what is the dark half of the year, you might be wondering? It's now. It's now. This is the dark half of the year. I call it affectionately the Burr months. So you're talking September, October, November, December, and quite frankly, parts of January as well, because I'm putting Mbok in there. Mbok is that transitional time, but that's another thing. I have notes because to watch my channel is to know I could go on a full tangent very quickly, very quickly. So I'm gonna look down at my notes that I had. I've had highlights and everything. so we can stay a little bit on point here. But yeah, Samhain is also just around the corner, and that's the focus. It's a countdown to Samhain, but this is the beginning of it. This, embracing the concept of the dark half of the year. Um, let's see here. Let me get to my note. So where did I want to start? Oh, the fact that I live in. Oh my gosh, yeah. So I live in Phoenix area, Arizona. I live in Arizona in the Phoenix metro area. I'm not going to tell you exactly where I live anyway. So one thing that I have had to, and I have practiced because I lived in Florida, South Florida, where you don't have a change of seasons, is I've had to get accustomed to the idea that, okay, it could look like a fall warm day, very Gilmore Girls, very spooky, very enchanted, very witchy in my home. But the realization when I walk out that door is that it does not feel like a crisp fall day here. Um, I can make it look like it, but it won't feel like it. And I'll get into that. But that is something that's not a negative. I mean, a little bit it is because sometimes I do miss it, but deep down, I don't really miss it because as someone who grew up in the Northeast, I'm going to tell you right now, it's cute in pictures, it's cute in movies, but typically the fall, it was always, it's like, it gets chilly and then it's rainy. I'm from South Jersey, if you can't tell by the hands and the nasal. Anyway, it's raining more often there. I remember that. I hate it. And then it's chilly. So it's like a coldish rain. It's an overcast all the time. Some people's like, oh, that's nice. It's moody. I like it. I don't. It gives me seasonal depression. I like that for a day, for a vibe. I don't want that all the for the season. I don't love that. I will take my sunshine. Does it mean I have 100+ degree weather? So be it. But I'm still in the vibes of autumn and fall, regardless of the heat. It's an energy, it's a shift, it's an energy. Also, I don't need to be physically located in a place to understand that seasons change. I mean, one, I have connection to that land of New Jersey because that's where I was born and grew up. So always have that connection. Those memories are still with me. So I understand seasonally um, that I may not be experiencing it, but my body, my psyche, my soul is used to that change. Also, there are changes that happen in warmer weather. They're just not as easily noticeable. But believe it or not, the weather does shift. We're in a transitional state now. It, I would say it's normally 117 degrees, but the hottest day was like only 111, and the rest of the forecast is like 106, 105, 107. Those sound like crazy numbers, and I realize that, but it is what it is. That's where I live. Hey, Gemstones. Sounds mad and crazy. Like, I'm sorry, did you say 117? I actually did say that. Worse, it'll be 117 degrees and it'll still be the nighttime. Crazy times. Your outfit looks good. Thank you. The dark half we're embracing. Thought I come full attire. All right. But no, seriously though, for those of us who live in a climate where you're not getting the four seasons like that, you're not really feeling the fall vibes outside, you can create that indoors as well. Also, it's an energy. So just remember it's an energy. When we talk about the wheel of the year, it's okay that you don't live in a place that has four seasons. It doesn't mean that you're still not living by the wheel of the year. I am someone who's been living most of my now that I think about it, most of my practice, I haven't even lived in a place that had four seasons. I lived so much of my time near the beach in Florida, if not in Florida, still somewhere in the South where it wasn't like four legit seasons. So eh, that don't let the Instagram and even here on YouTube, don't let that fool you. Don't, no, it's not necessary. It's an energy. All right, but I want to get into some ideas about sort of embracing the dark half of the year. So we're going to start off with creating a grimoire, or starting a new grimoire, or making room in your existing grimoire for these new pages. So I posted a video where I started a new grimoire. Of course, I have it nowhere nearby; it's behind me, but watch the video. I created a new grimoire and I'm challenging myself to do something a little bit different. It's like something I got off of Amazon. I think it's like a children's book. It has all these little pop outs and things that flip open and things like that. And I'm basically just repurposing the entire book to be my dark half of the year grimoire. I suggest you do something similar. If you don't want to do something as challenging as what I'm attempting to do, you can just get a composition notebook or just a notebook or use your iPad, get a notes app, something, add a little something, a little zhuzh to it to the best of your ability. If you are totally just not into the concept of writing things down, you don't like it, you can do audio recordings, do voice recordings. I would set up a folder and I would be intentional about it. I would set up it and, have a date, name them, record your thoughts, your ideas. There's really no reason for you not to be able to record things. Some people say, well, I'm just not the type to write things down and I'm just not an artistic person. I'm not okay. Well, then voice recordings. I think people just like, I do think, and this is a controversial thing, I think some people are lazy. And I think they just want things spoon fed to them. They want to keep asking you the same questions. If they, a creator like myself, or they'll go someplace else, they'll go in somebody's witchy Facebook group, they'll ask the same questions in multiple groups over and over again, even though they've been given the answer, they know the answer, they just don't feel confident, don't feel right. Maybe if you wrote some things down and actually practiced and wrote it down, you might have more of a connection. But that's just my grief. I'm sorry. Let's stay on. See, I'm tangent already. That wasn't what I was talking about. Um, but a seasonal grimoire, focus on a seasonal grimoire. I think that's a great idea. I'm doing it. A seasonal grimoire where you're going to have sections that include, maybe correspondences about fall or autumn, and winter, because it's a continuum. Right now, my focus is really on just fall. So you can include things like your herbs, crystals, if you want to do any kind of color magic theory, specifically seasonally speaking, for the darker half of the year. Um, you can also add spells to your grimoire. You can add spells, especially for protection. Anything you want to do for introspection, you want to journal about that, and definitely anything you want to do about shadow work, make unlisted YouTube videos. Ooh, right, to record grimoire. Oh, that's a great idea. So that's even better. Oh my God, that's a great idea. Thank you, November Eve. You can make unlisted YouTube videos, or if you just want to do them on your phone, create a folder wherever you want to store them. Maybe it's not good to store on the phone. You can store it, like she said, directly on YouTube. If you want to free up on your device or something like that, do it on a laptop or computer where only you're going to see it, but that's your grimoire. The good the idea about doing it for on YouTube specifically is you can create playlists, so you can organize it so you can go and find information. So it could be something simple as you just making a 10-minute video talking about your thoughts on something. You can record yourself doing a spell versus writing it down. That's an excellent idea for those who it's just the writing things down is just not going to work for you. And I understand that because well, that's not true. I've always been a type of person. I've always been a notebook having, planner having. I'm always been this girl. I've been like this since I was a little girl. I don't know how not to be, but I do recognize because I've been around other people, I've interacted with other people, and I know that they struggle with that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's an excellent idea, and you can organize it so you actually like a grimoire or your book of shadows where you may want to reference it. You can actually go back and look at information. So that's I like that. So yeah, a seasonal grimoire in this case. So set up a playlist on if you're going to do it that way. But for me, I'm going to start a whole new book um, for the dark half of the year. Emphasis on fall, obviously it starts, and then winter, and any of the Sabbaths if you celebrate that. So first one is going to be Samhain. I would also, to your grimoire, I would tell you maybe to think about adding reflection pages. So when I'm talking about journaling, journaling within the grimoire. So um, dreams, well, definitely any insights you have during the season, but also dreams. I mean, if you want to start an entire dream journal just for this season, that's fine. If you want to do like a seasonal, this is a good idea. It's something I've been getting into is working with composition notebooks. But that's a good idea because there's only so many pages and you can, feel free to write, maybe you search for imagery or something like that and, or maybe you draw um or add something watercolor paint, whatever you're into, you can add that to the pages as well. You can also paste paper on top of those pages, so if there's something that you've seen or a photo and you want to paste it onto the book, you could do that as well. But dreams, this is one of those times, not one of those times, but this is the time, at least for me, my dreams can kind of go a little, they get wild. They get wild. I recently had a wild dream that my life, basically, I was me in my current moment, but I woke up with a different reality than what I currently live. And it was what I didn't want, what I magicked away. And in my dream, I woke up in that reality. But I was very aware that, I've been living this life. So it was a nightmare, kind of. And just when I felt like, and it was really going south in a dream, like everything I didn't want was starting to happen, the life I didn't want, and the things were happening in a way that was freaking me out. And I was getting angry, and I was like, wait, this isn't real. And I woke up. I woke up. That dream was profound because it encouraged me, not that I wasn't already in a space of gratitude, but it really encouraged me to be so grateful to listening to myself, for listening to those whispers. I haven't talked about whispers on this channel in a very long time. When I first started, I used to talk about it all the time. When I had a blog, I used to talk about whispers all the time. But sometimes there's like these little voices, these little whispers. For some people with psychic abilities, it can be loud voices. But for most of us, regardless of whether you think you're psychic or not, most of us have these little whispers, these little thoughts, like, why did I think that? Where'd that come from? What? Like, you're like, what? I mean, I guess I could do that. Like ideas, things just sort of pop, and it's not loud, it's not showy. It's just a one and done. Like all of a sudden, this idea or this word pops into your head. And it's almost like you can't decipher if it popped in or did you hear it? Did someone say it? Like that type of thing. And I just call that the whispers. Um, I am grateful I listened to the whispers because it was guiding me all along. What I think the whispers is spirit. I think it's a combination of spirit, your ancestors, and your higher self, the part of you that knows best for you, but sometimes we don't listen. But dreams are super important, and they're gonna for a lot of us, they're probably gonna go very vivid, even nightmares, unfortunately. So you want to record it. Sometimes there's a message, other times it's just, again, your subconscious working things out. We know this. Hopefully, you know this. Hopefully, you know how to discern. And there's still lessons to be learned from when your subconscious is working out. That doesn't make it less magical, but it doesn't mean that you are to take your dreams literally. But get into the habit of recording that and start to see patterns, start to see if there's any connection between anything, especially if you feel like you're being visited by someone you've never been visited before around this time of year. Most likely that's some sort of spirit. It's an ancestor coming through. Um, Even if you're scared by it or unnerved, I should say, by it, write it down. Start to see if there's a pattern. Are they doing the same thing? Are they wearing the same thing? Are you in the same place? Maybe there's a connection and there's something that you need to take away from that, something you can learn. But yes, seasonal grimoires are where it's at. So again, it's going to include your insights, your dreams, your thoughts on a transition, this transitional period that we're in. This is how you welcome in and encourage accepting where you are. This is also going to be helpful for people with seasonal depression as well, because you're connecting intentionally. You're still, I mean, you might not feel, you may still go through the bouts of seasonal depression as someone who's actually experienced it. it would have been really great if I was writing things down before it started. If I kind of had a game plan before it started, it's hard to do in the midst of it, I understand. But beforehand, if I sort of had a plan of action to limit the effects of the seasonal depression, it would have been helpful. But Grimoire is where it's at. Here's another one. And these are things that I think actually work, by the way. So this is not something you're going to find on a list someplace else on how to welcome the dark half of the year. Um, Soft lighting in your home. See those lights I have? String lights. Get fairy lights, battery operated candles. The light bulbs in your lamps, go ahead and change and make them a little softer. Um, I have beautiful fall lights, fall colored lights. So there's like orange, brownish all throughout my living areas. Um, an actual candle light as well. As we transition, because it's going to be, you're going to have less daylight, it's going to get darker faster. That soft lighting for us practitioners is super helpful. One, for any spells and rituals you're about to do, you're already going to be feeling like it's just an ambiance thing. It's already going to feel magical. To live your everyday magic and stay connected, it's also helpful to us as well. Um, I would even go to say that, okay, meditation is different for everybody. I'm trying to see how I want to frame this because I wrote it down, but I don't like the way I'm saying it. Meditation. So meditation can be the whole sitting with your eyes closed, thinking of nothing or trying not to think of anything, right? And just letting things come to you. But for some of us, especially, honestly, I think a lot of people in modern society, that goes really hard to try to do. Meditation, for me, can be anything from unintentionally zoning out on something and just allowing different thoughts to come into my mind. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Somebody's talking to you, or something's on, or you're supposed to be reading and you're just someplace else. But it's not negative, it's not taxing, it feels okay. So you just kind of go with it. I consider that meditation. Honestly, getting lost within my tarot cards sometimes and deciphering meanings and just being in that kind of liminal space of connecting with spirit. I consider that meditation as well. Um, okay. This is going to sound crazy. Sometimes it depends on what the show is. Sometimes watching a TV show or reading a book, usually fiction, something that has my undivided attention, and I'm no longer focusing and I'm not even thinking like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Why are you doing this? I'm not that. I am immersed in the story. I'm like a fly on the wall. I'm just literally in it. I'm absorbing it as it goes in a trance. Have you ever watched something that had you so enthralled? You literally thought about nothing else other than what was happening in front of you. You were feeling the feels, but you were not thinking anything of it. You weren't really thinking. You were just there's a nap. You were just focusing on what's going on in front of you. I consider that a type of meditation. But I'm open to just different ways of doing things because I realize everybody some would say that's a distraction. I don't know. Meditation could be a distraction. I think that's a form of meditation, but that's when you're like deep into it. I'm like that with books as well, where I've been reading for so long, I don't realize the sun came up. Like I don't even notice. I notice I'm tired, but I don't care. I'm reading anyway. I got to get to the end of the book. Um, I'm so immersed and I'm so outside of my normal way of thinking. That's to me like a form of meditation. But anyway, yeah, meditation. um, Soft lighting can help with that. That was where I was going with that. Soft lighting can help with relaxation and meditation and things like that. It's for those times you want to kind of get lost in a good book or a good TV show. Um, Now, for me personally, because I'm in a place that is hot as balls if I walk outside, it helps create that connection here to where I live now. Now it will start to get darker faster here. We don't observe daylight savings times, but it will, the days grow shorter. So having where I live in a desert, having that soft, warm light also connects me to this season as well. Um, Although, again, it's not cold, but it connects me. It's that same energy, that ambiance. I'm a big fan of ambiance, by the way. Um, I'm saying ambiance instead of aesthetics because ambiance is about what you consider what's a vibe to you. What is putting you in this energy of warmth, of magical, of whimsy? What is that? That might look totally different to you. And it doesn't have to be aesthetic. It's personal because what I consider an ambiance for me might not be the same for you, right? But aesthetics is something that we all tend to know exactly. If I say, oh, aesthetically pleasing, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But ambiance, that's subjective. I love the way you say ambiance. Oh, ambiance. And I mean it too, the way I say it. You got to add more ambiance to the word ambiance. But soft lighting in your home, seriously, though, is going to be important welcoming in the darker half of the year. And it doesn't take much. A few little twinkle, those little fairy lights, just kind of stuffed around. There, a lot of them are battery operated, so you don't have to worry. Just order extra batteries. You don't have to, concern yourself with it. I do have mine on plug-in over here, and these are the reason I went with this particular kind because it's the green like Christmas lights. But with the birch trees, I figured it made sense, so that's why I keep those up here around. And I also have other lights that I like to use at night. So especially here when it's at night, this whole wall is all lit up. It's the ambiance I need for the entire room for rituals or meditations, or if I'm working any magic or doing any spell work, especially at night, it's perfect. So let's talk about witchy self care for the dark season. So, okay. I'm going to talk about shadow work, but we're just going to keep it high level right now. Self care for the purposes of going inward, um, connecting, spiritually, and also doing things physically. There is a thing that is pervasive within a witchcraft community or a spiritual community, I should say, is this constantly wanting to be outside the body. Um, no, this is the experience. Stop trying to ascend. There's a lot of that sort of talk. To ascend is to no longer even need to be concerned with the desires of the body, hunger and sex and things of that nature, um, to be entertained. There's this idea in spirituality that you are, if you don't need all of those things, you've sort of ascended and you're master level, and then I guess you're ready to take on the universe. I don't know what the point of that when we, along with the pain and the suffering and all the other stuff that comes with the human experience, there's also pleasure. And when hunger is satiated, that is a beautiful feeling. Have you had a good meal and good sex? Let me tell you. Preferably in the same 24 hours. Stop trying to be absent of the body. Stop trying to leave your body all the time. Self-care is all of self, the spiritual, the emotional, the mental, and the physical, the body. Um, do the things that you can do. If it's working out, if you still keep going to the gym, the weather's going to get sucky for some of y'all. Go to the gym as much as you can. Do some at home stuff. Maybe do some of the other things like, more stretching if you want to do some yoga or something of, a little bit of something like that, just to keep physically moving your body. And as I've already hinted, sex. If it's solo sex, it's solo sex, but still sex. First of all, most of us going to be in the house anyway, more like because you're not getting outside as much. Now, for me, this is my time to go be outside because, again, for the 50 millionth time, I live in a desert. So the weather is changing here to where it's like basically patio weather. So I'll be outside. But for the rest of y'all, where the weather is not going to be so great, what else are you doing? What, like, I mean, be smart, use protection, and have sex. Have sex solo. But get the blood pumping. This is again. This is also great for seasonal depression. But self care, seriously, that's part of the self care. I'm being funny, but I'm really bringing this up because it's a way of connecting. The entire season is basically about death. That's where we're getting the story of Persephone and Hades, and there's so many other different stories. Live, be in the presence of your body and live. Be physical. Live. Be grateful that you are the opposite of what's happening all around you. The slow decaying of everything and dying is happening. The earth itself, nature itself, is exhibiting death. Live. This is your connection to live. Do the things now. Don't fall back into like, oh, I guess I'll just go into my shell and be cozy. And the kids say on TikTok, oh, I'm just gonna rot. If you don't wash your behind and get up and go have some fun, go do something with yourself. And fun is subjective. Do fun in your house. But I'm also talking about physical sex, like actual sex. Have fun, live your life. That is part of self-care. People don't want to talk about that for whatever reason. And again, it doesn't have to be with a person. You could be solo. But you please be in your body. Experience pleasure. That's enough. I'm not going to keep pushing it. um, and of course, shadow work, which might help you kind of come to that impasse of why you might not want to be having sex, what's really going on. But no, seriously, shadow work. Some of us have already done a good amount. I don't think it's something that every year you have to work on shadow work. I don't feel the need to do that at this stage. I've been doing my own sort of healing journey, and I believe it's been a journey, and I'm on a different journey now. That has concluded. As far as shadow work, I think for a lot of people, it might just mean sitting with your own thoughts. I would tell you to journal about it, but I think it means just sitting with your own thoughts, being still for a few moments and being in your own mind and letting the thoughts come over you. Believe it or not, there are some people that freaks them out. They spend their entire life being distracted, talking, doing all the things so that they never have to be alone with their own thoughts. That's where the shadow work starts. Just being alone. That's why people drink a lot, drugs, you know, whatever, addictions and things like that, because they don't want to focus on self. That's the part that they're avoiding the most. So that's a huge step. Now you might need to do this with the help of someone. You might need to get some help. You might not be able to sit by yourself. You might need a trained therapist, someone, a professional, essentially. If you don't think you're needing of a professional in that sense, but you don't want to go it alone and you want a spiritual type guide, I offer services at leaptaken.com. I have Ask a Witch service. You can definitely try that one. This would definitely fit in there. That would be about an hour segment for us. Or I can do a tarot reading and we can dig even deeper into that one. And I have two different types. So go to my website, leaptaken.com. You can book a reading with me or the Ask a Witch service. And we can kind of go into this and dig a little deep with the help of tarot and oracle cards as well. But this is part of your self care. I also believe getting a tarot reading reading, because it could be a different form of divination for yourself, is a form of witchy self care. If you're not going to give it to yourself, if there's someone that you trust, if you know someone who pulls cards, um, ask them if it's okay, especially if it's a friend of yours. Ask them if they would, for the season, for the darker half of the year, if they can, just ask spirit to give you some general directions, or what should I work on, especially in the realm of shadow work. You can also, seek a professional. Again, I am one of them. You can head over to leaptaken.com, check out my services there. But shadow work is important. I'm going to talk about ritual baths. So I definitely think this is also a time for ritual baths. Now, as someone who I have a shower in my bathroom, I don't have a bath. You can still do ritual baths. Also, another kind of in between, if you like, well, I want the sitting in it aspect, I would say get a foot bath. And it's okay if your entire body's not immersed. The foot bath as well, energetically, you're soaking that up, or if it's cleansing or releasing. There's some additional steps that you need to do if you're just soaking your feet versus immersing your entire body. But that is a possible, option as well. But ritual baths this is a perfect time to tie to the season, for protection as well, especially with the veil thinning. Um, a lot of protection work you could be doing around this time as well. But for the purposes of self care, a ritual bath or a foot soak with special herbs for protection is also great. I mean, you can even attune it to, as you continue to walk, whether it's in the physical or in the dream world, you are protected, hence the foot bath. See, you can make connections with that. The other thing, as far as witchy self care, I'm looking at my notes here. Okay, self love spells, obviously. This is a good time to do that. Any sort of grounding work, another good time to work on that. If you've been putting that off, sometimes I do that. Am I familiar with grounding work? Do I tell other people how to do it? Yes. Do I always remember to do that for myself? No. So this is a good time for me to focus on doing grounding work as well. So that covers the self care aspect of welcoming in the darker half of the year. And the other item I wanted to talk about was your altar, or lack thereof. So if you're already in a position where you already have an altar, a working altar, an ancestor altar, clean your altar. This is the perfect time. If it's been collecting dust, please, this is the time. The veil is thinning. We're going to want to work with ancestors. We're going to be working on our veneration. Most of us will. Even if you kind of been lax, you're going to start to do it. Right? We all do it. It's a thing. It's kind of like Christians with Easter. You didn't go to church all year, but when Easter comes, they show up. It's a thing. So us witches, we have our things too. Go ahead and dust that altar off. Clean that altar. Clean it, cleanse it, and make a point to try to stay connected and visit it more often. Refresh those waters. Get those offerings from whatever season ago off. Let's dust it off, clean it off, and let's start fresh, with some good energy. Some cleansing energy to welcome in new connections, to also an opportunity to put fresh offerings as well to our ancestors or spirits or whoever you're working with. If you do not have an altar and you think this is the time, maybe I should start having some sort of altar. This is a great time, especially with an ancestor altar. This is a perfect time. It doesn't have to be this big production. Matter of fact, I would tell you, don't let it be. A candle, several candles. You choose the color. What makes sense to you? Do you want white candles? Do you want all white on your altar? That's fine. Do you want a mix of candles? What type of candle size do you want? Do you want chime candles? Do you just want a bunch of tea light candles? Do you want varying sizes? Do each of these candles represent something, or is it just ambiance? Those are the questions that you should ask yourself. Don't get caught in semantics. You could just have one. Um, I would say a couple crystals, whatever crystal is you're drawn to. Do not try to buy at the store. It could be just one. Do you have a photo? Do you have something that represents family, ancestors that you connect with? Use that item. Have all the photos if you want. Have none. I was someone who had an ancestor altar with that, not one photo ever. This is a newer thing that I started doing because a particular ancestor reached out to me earlier this year. I had never had photos. I just didn't connect with that type of energy. Having that at the time, I never felt called to do that. Quite frankly, most of the time, I've always connected with my ancestors in this spirit. Well, I like to call it the in between, the liminal space. It's in, I can only see it through my third eye, but it has far reaching consequences outside of that space. But I've been given messages, I've been given actual medicine, in that time to help me in the physical, real life, areas of my life. But yeah, you can make it very simple: a candle, a photo, or if you just want a candle and some crystals. um, maybe some incense and things like that. That is perfectly fine to start. Let them tell you, them being spirit ancestors, let them guide you. It may come to you in dreams. That's why you want to record things. It may come to you in a dream. It might come to you when you're out or someone says something and you're like, wait, what did you say? And it's a message there that only makes sense to you. And it could be, to make sure there's flowers. Maybe they want fresh flowers. Maybe they prefer dried flowers. Um, it just depends, but you'll learn that as you go. But a simple candle, crystal, maybe some incense, if that's enough. That's enough. You can start there. But this is the perfect time to get an altar going, by the way. Um, Especially an ancestor altar. This is the perfect time. Working altar, that's another conversation. Okay. So let's talk about preparing for Samhain because that's going to be the first Sabbath that comes up during the darker half of the year. Um, It is my favorite time. If you can't tell by the way I'm looking right now, it's my I I low key live for it. I always say I love spring, and I do, but oh my God, I love Samhain so much. I love Samhain, Halloween. I love this time of year. It's my time to shine. I am so invigorated with just like more energy and everything. It's all back in that when I talked about earlier, that whole back to school energy. A lot of us are just prone for this, where we're ready to just take on the world right now. The witch's new year, which is my point, Samhain. A lot of us refer to it as the witch's new year. I do. Um, it's also a time, again, I've talked about it already, to honor your ancestors, celebrate the harvest, reflect on the year that's passed. I do this in a form of a ritual. If you have no idea what to do with the Samhain ritual, if you want to do something, but you don't, nothing really resonates. Okay, so I lit a candle, then what? No, make it fun. Vision boards. This is something I've done. Yeah, you can still do something for January 1st because that's fun too. But a vision board and put something in a book um, for what you want to manifest for the next year. This is the witch's new year. You can bless it. You can use it with a blessed ink, or if you want to even take it up a notch and create your own paper to put your for your vision board or something like that. You can script as well on your own pre-made paper. And when I say make your own paper, it could be something like a dye, like you take the paper and you put it in the tea leaf, the water, tea water. You can do something like that, but it could be a specific type of tea, a specific herb that brings that will help you with manifesting whatever it is that you want to do. I mean, we can take this layer by layer, spells on spells on spells. We can take each layer can go deeper and deeper, so that there's just so much energy behind it. It has to work. That's how I see that. But yeah, your ritual can be doing that, creating the paper, anointing the paper. Then you can script if you don't prefer to do the vision board. But I like doing a vision board on a piece of paper, like in a book, and bring in all the things that I want to see manifest the next year. And then, as a space, and just kind of in a look back, if you've already done something last year, let's say you've already recorded your ideas about what you wanted to happen last Samhain, you can look back and take stock. What happened? You know, and be in a space of gratitude about what has happened. And if things didn't come together as you wanted, it's okay. You have another opportunity to make it happen again now. And look at it that way. Don't be disappointed about anything. Ritualize the entire process. So that means ritualizing it is making it more intentional. Light the candles, do the ambiance, do some sort of spiritual bath, ritual bath ahead of time, or ritual shower or something along those lines. Do something like that. Um, have offerings prepared for your ancestors. Have a certain playlist going where you have a certain music going, or nothing. Maybe you just want quiet, whatever your thing is, but make it a thing, make it intentional. Add additional elements. Sometimes we joke as witches, oh, I don't do all that. I just do XYZ and then I'm done. And that's great some of the time. I talked about low energy witchcraft, but there are times that you need to invest more energy so that things can manifest, especially bigger things. If you're talking about manifesting a year's worth of energy, of things to come to you. Why would you not put more energy into that? Stop being Just stop. Sometimes it's okay if it's low energy. Other times, fine. You know what? Then don't do it at all because you're just not invested in it. And I'm going kind of on a tangent about this because I am noticing a theme here with people just wanting to make excuses about how they just can't. This can be just all in your mind. Now, if you have some other things going on, you don't have the energy for it, that's a different conversation. But if you don't and you're just not doing it, why? You're wasting time. Halloween isn't half the year. What? I like the idea of tea staining, adding manifesting. I love that. Halloween isn't half the year. I didn't say Halloween was the fuck. It's the witch's new year. I'm gonna ignore the other part. So for us witches, we consider that the beginning of the witch's year. Say something else and you're gonna be going. So anyway, moving on. So yeah, back to my point as I went on my full on tangent. Yeah, ritualize the entire process. I think that's super helpful with Samhain and celebrating Samhain is to ritualize that whole process. Taking the time, like when you're setting up your actual vision board, that is the ritual. Have a candle, like I said, set the ambiance, all that sort of stuff. Um, and of course, setting intentions. Samhain is a lot of things, but it's also a great time to set intentions. What do you want to happen? What do these are the type of questions you can start asking now to be ready to go for Samhain. What do you want to occur? What do you want for the next year? Um, as far as, and I like to break things up from a spiritual point of view. You can focus career to your finances, to your love life, and family, friendship, kind of like that wheel that you'll see that a lot of people use. Um, and any fitness, health goals and things like that. How do you what do you want to see there? How do you want that to manifest? What would you like to see? Start thinking about that now. This is kind of welcoming it in because again, I have some pumpkin spice tea will be perfect for the vision board. Exactly. In my video where I set up my dark half of the year book of shadows, I did use pumpkin spice for that. If you caught it, I used a little pumpkin spice. That was intentional. It wasn't just a look; it was also intentional because pumpkin spice has all the herbs that I wanted to use that have metaphysical properties for the dark half of the year. So that's why I use pumpkin spice. So exactly perfect. And also it gave me kind of an aged look and things like that. So I wanted texture and aging and all that sort of stuff, just a dark shadow to come onto the page. So it had multiple purposes. But yeah, that was my reason for using pumpkin spice. But yeah, so those are my ways of welcoming the darker half of the year. Uh, Again, I don't like to stick to the simple checklist that somebody else talks about. I do think it's important to start a grimoire, a book of shadows, some sort of magical journal. Your format is up to you, but any witch worth her salt is going to be able to is going to have it. The longer you're practicing, I'd like to say we're all going to remember things, but you get to a point you can't remember everything. It's just too much information. Write it down. Also, if you're not in a position to write things down, I love the idea about the YouTube video unlisted so no one else sees it but you. That way you can organize it and use them and reference them as much as you need to. And it's a visual representation as well. Um, yeah. Also, I would say witchy self-care is something that's super important as well. Witchy self-care around this time of year, again, because a lot of us are just prone for seasonal depression, is going to be super important. But there's actual other reasons for that. Like, I mean, it's just an opportunity for you to kind of go inward, maybe do some shadow work that's necessary for some of us at this time of year. The other thing I mentioned was adding soft lighting into your home because of the impact of a shorter days, it creates a more magical environment. It's not a lot of energy, and it's not, financially draining to do so. I'm not asking you to rewire your house. You can just get some. I mean, the Dollar Tree has them, some lighting, and some of them are just battery operated. The Dollar Tree has batteries too. So again, this is not like a big thing that you have to do, but you can add a bunch of just uh, whimsy through soft lighting, and maybe even changing out the light bulbs on your lamps and things like that, to just create more of a softer ambiance. It does something for the mind. It does something for the energy in the home as well, because how you'll interact with it, with you interact to that stimuli, so then you're bringing the energy into the home where it feels more magical. um, and then altar maintenance, or setting up an altar for the first time as well. I strongly suggest maybe working on doing that, as well as just kind of welcoming into the season. And then, of course, Samhain, which is what this is all about for me. Um, Start thinking about your rituals. What do you want to do for Samhain? So salt lamps. Oh my God, salt lamps are perfect. Those little, and again, those are not huge investments. Five Below has those. At least they did at one point. But like those little salt lamps, and you don't have to have a big one. You can have small ones and kind of set up around the home. And again, it will help you connect with the energy. So yeah, it's the darker half, but you don't have to be in darkness in your home. It doesn't have to stay dark. Yeah, I love the idea of salt lamps. We have at least one in the house. I gifted my daughter one, but I realized I need to get some more for the rest of the home. But I have a lot of lights, things like this, because one, it's cozy, it's giving the fall warm vibes, but it's also something that's helpful to us mentally as well, which affects our craft, our witchcraft. But yeah, preparing for Samhain, ritualize setting your intentions, ritualize doing a vision board for the witch's new year, um, ritualize scripting. And you can make it as large a production or not, just, some incense and lighting a candle, or just having a crystal nearby that represents the energy that you want to bring in, and doing some scripting or something like that. So these are my suggestions for welcoming the dark half of the year. Thank you all. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Go ahead and hit the join button if you'd like to join Lead Taken membership as well. It supports the channel. Also, there's some wonderful perks like member only videos where you get to see actual spell work being performed, as well as readings specifically just for the group. Also, there's a 40% off discount over at leaptaken.com. Also, my website, leaptaken.com, I talked about it earlier. I offer readings. I offer all types of services, including mentoring. I'm going to be opening that up soon. Again, I space those out because it's a lot of work. And there's 4 weeks and a 6 weeks mentoring program that I have, depending on what makes sense for you. But yeah, I'll be opening that up soon. But in the meantime, you can definitely consult me for readings. And again, I have an Ask a Witch service where that's sort of like that miscellaneous if you're not sure. I also offer moon readings. Their monthly moon readings is a subscription, and you can check that out on my website as well, where you get customized readings that are pertaining to the new moon and the full moon and major astrological events as well. All right, so I'm done. This is the live. I made it. I will be back next Wednesday with another countdown to Samhain video. Just talking about this darker half of the year. We're going to get more into all types of subjects like the veil thinning and everything like that. Friday, I will also still be live, and I will be doing a book review. I won't talk about that book until Friday, but I will be talking about that book on Friday. So that's going to be an interesting one as well. And I just thank you all for coming. Thank you for interacting with me. Special shout out to Pancake Intake for trying to be funny. Uh, you got your shine, and I appreciate the engagement. All right. Thank you all. Bye.